and welcome to Northwest Profiles. I'm your host, Lynn Veltri, inviting you to settle in and get comfortable for a Profiles special edition. Not only are we kicking off our 33rd season, but we are taking the unusual step in dedicating the entire show to one remarkable story, that of an iconic place here in Spokane celebrating its centennial, the Hutton Settlement. In the days when such a place was called an orphan's asylum, and the children who lived there inmates, the Hutton Settlement was a radical departure. It was a gift from a man who was an orphan himself, whose inspiration was a poem. For nearly 2,000 children across 100 years, it is a place to call home. Producer Tom MacArthur begins our story.
We pulled up into the lane and I remember it was springtime. All the trees were blooming, there was wind, it was sunny out. And my first thought was, wow, that's a lot of space for me to run around in. And my second thought, I saw kids playing on the terrace and I was like, okay, this isn't gonna be so bad. And the first week or so I was shy, but then afterwards a couple of the older boys at the time approached me and they started helping me through a little bit, with my social skills. And I just remember thinking, these people are willing to help me, they're my new family.
We're at the Hutton Settlement in Spokane, Washington, where a line from a Wordsworth poem is carved in stone above the front door. The child is father of the man. This child is the father of our story. He's Levi William Hutton, father of the Hutton Settlement, a place to call home.
Hutton Settlement to me is a place to call home, a place to call family. You can walk out on that campus knowing that there's people willing to back you up, people willing to accept and help you, learn through your mistakes, help guide you through life.
Levi Hutton, or Al as he prefers to be called, is one of the richest men in Spokane in the 1920s. He drives himself around town in an open car in all seasons. Almost every day, he comes out to visit the treasure of his life at the end of the road, the Hutton Settlement. Here, at age 59, Hutton keeps a promise he makes to himself as a child and builds a place that 80 children call home. Among these, a 4-year-old girl who, as an adult, calls Hutton the greatest, kindest, and most considerate person I've ever known. A loving hand writes her name on the first page of the Hutton family book in November 1919. Jane Weiss. Hutton gets to live his dream for less than a decade, though it lasts 100 years and thrives still. How it comes to be is quite a story. Hutton, an orphan in Iowa at age 6 with no formal education, finds happiness and fortune here in the Idaho Territory at a mining camp called Wardner Junction, now the city of Kellogg, Idaho. He's an engineer running ore trains for the Northern Pacific Railroad. Hutton takes most of his hot meals at May Arkwright's boarding house. Miners from miles around know her as the best cook in the West. May keeps bars of soap and pans of water out front and a broom out back, which she uses as often for sweeping dirt as for prodding malcontents out the door. May isn't like most women of the day. She's strong and opinionated. That's part of why Al marries her in 1886.
Well, May, she was a really good writer. She loved reading. She pretty much read anything she could get her hands on. And she loved fashion. She loved wearing dresses that were nice and poofy and colorful, when all the other women, they were wearing browns and blacks and whites. And I know she was just a hard-working, strong woman who knew that she could do anything if she really believed in it.
The Huttons moved to the newly founded city of Wallace, the capital of the Coeur d'Alene mining district, where in 1897, the Huttons and 5 of their friends buy shares in the Hercules mine and work it themselves. They call it their hole in the ground. Other miners call it the joke of the Coeur d'Alenes. After 4 years, the bunch has the last laugh when the Hercules mine reveals the richest ore body of lead and silver in the Silver Valley in the summer of 1901. The partners become rich beyond their wildest dreams. The Hercules mine delivers a modern value of more than $1 million a month for the next 25 years. Al and May moved to Spokane in 1906, where they invest in commercial real estate. They move again to a penthouse apartment on the top floor of their brand new Hutton building in 1907. With mining royalties and commercial rents, the Huttons prosper. They build a home on Spokane South Hill in 1914, from which May champions worker rights, labor unions, and women's suffrage, while Al manages his real estate. They intend to enjoy their work and each other's company in comfort the rest of their days. But within a year, there is a funeral in the parlor. May dies from Bright's disease, a condition of the kidneys, in 1915. She is 55. The Spokesman Review reports hundreds throng home for her funeral the next day as the crowd overflows from this room out into the yard. Local playwright Tim Rarick writes a play to commemorate the Hutton Settlement Centennial. He begins his story here, where the Huttons call home.
There's a quietude about this house. And what was it, 1914 that it was built. And so we're well over 100 years here, and it's still beautiful. Not only the house itself, but the grounds. Even with this traffic, there's a settlement here, no pun intended. I hear the quietude of it and the weight of it, the memories, everything that it stands for in terms of who Levi and May were and still are.
Rarick's play, A Place to Call Home, 3 years in the making, receives its world premiere on the Spokane Civic Theater's main stage during the settlement's centennial year. Rarick begins his play with a very lonely person in a very big place, where Al Hutton is once before. Tim brings the man back to his childhood and a dream that once makes his heart leap up.
It's this line that I can't make sense of, and it seems it's the most important line.
The child is father of the man?
Yes.
Oh, you are not the first person to be mystified by that, Mr. Hutton. I was too. I finally came to the conclusion that Wordsworth was saying that who we will be when we grow up as adults is established when we are very young, as children, both the positive and the negative traits. The children of today in the circle of life are the fathers and mothers of tomorrow.
What happens to the children without parents to plant those seeds and nurture them?
Life can be very hard for them. Too often those children are tossed to the wind.
In the beginning, Hutton is so far out of town that it's practically a pioneer settlement. The name sticks. The thinking that creates it is so far out that no other word applies. Yet the spirit Al Hutton breathes into this place a century ago is still near.
When you and your colleagues are out walking on the same ground that Levi walked 100 years ago, do you ever feel that he's walking with you out here?
I think that he's with us all the time, and I think there's, the happy times, the joyous times, and then the sad times. But his legacy's here in guiding us, keeping us true to the mission. There's specifics though. Every board meeting I feel him present. We do a moment of silence in honor of him. But he seems to be still providing that inspiration and guidance amongst the board. Then out here, I could have the toughest day dealing with my work, my day-to-day stuff. And when I come out here, sometimes I feel that sense of him when he would drive on campus and the kids come running. They probably don't come running as quickly as they do for what they did for him, but that feeling of this is what it's all about. And no matter how rough a day it is, I can see the smiles, the giggles, the laughs, and that's what he saw, and that's what we live for.
So he's a real person for you.
He is. He is. He is that angel in pants. He really is, and an inspiration for us all.
Ask youngsters today to name a magical place for life and learning, and many will answer the Hogwarts School of Harry Potter. The Hutton Settlement, just like its fictional counterpart, has extensive grounds with sloping lawns, a vegetable garden, large forest, main castle, and 4 houses. Mike Butler works at the Hutton Settlement for 29 years. He brings it into a new century, and he retires as its director in 2016. Mike continues our story now with a look at the Hutton Settlement program and how it works for the kids.
The Hutton Settlement is designed by Spokane architect Harold Whitehouse. Mr. Hutton's instructions are clear. Build it with the comforts of home and to last 250 years. Even if you've never been here on campus, you may be familiar with Mr. Whitehouse's work. He designed Spokane's Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist in 1929 and the Benowa Creamery milk bottle in 1935. The original Whitehouse and Price drawings for the settlement clearly show space above the front door reserved for something special.
It is my life's pleasure to be the 4th executive director here at the settlement. I get to know many of the children who are today out being successful adults. Every Hutton young person has his or her unique story, and everyone is welcome home.
So, I kind of had a bad home when I was a baby because it was my mom's friend and she didn't treat me right. So then I went back to my old house, like my house where my real mom was there, and it kind of went bad there.
When I was just little, our father abused me and my mother, and then when my other 5 siblings came along, he abused them too. And so when I was 8 years old, my mother died from an overdose. And so I lived with my grandma and grandpa for a year. And then one day our uncle came and said, I just found this great place online and I have friends who used to work there, and it's called Hutton Settlement.
My mom and dad never got together, and so they were like together, and I just like look back and I see pictures of like my mom holding me as a baby and like my dad is there. And then so when I was about 3 or 4, they would like argue, and they just like, my mom had like 5 different guys in the house at like different parts of the day, and it was really bad.
One day we were about to head out to the city park. We would do it every Saturday morning, and there was like a knock on the door, and my dad opened it up and a bunch of police officers stormed in. My brother and I were scared at the time. We ran and hid under a bunk bed, and it turns out that he was arrested for using drugs at the time. And later on in life I found out that he suffered from schizophrenia, mental illness. He had these bad hallucinations. We went through about 7 or 8 different homes from the time I was 5 to the time I reached Hutton.
The Hutton Settlement is home to about 50 children today. Unlike the orphans who live here 100 years ago, most have one or both parents involved in their lives in some way. And unlike a century ago, when most young people left here at age 18, most today transition to adulthood through college, trade school, or some other program. While it may look like a magical campus, the life-changing things that happen here are real.
Obviously, we bring in kids that are coming from environments of significant challenges throughout their history. And they come with challenging behaviors and getting the right people that can recognize the deep goodness of every child behind all of the challenges is the primary piece in that. So people can look beyond the surface and see the deep goodness in every kid and treat them as such. That's where it all begins.
Hutton family members all have homework and chores and must participate in at least one of 4 campus clubs: woodshop, outdoor adventure, culinary arts, and sustainable farming, by far the favorite. Every year, for the past 100, the Hutton family plants a kitchen garden.
Right? Some of you who are in the Culinary Arts group are going to be feeding some people who are in need in the Millwood community.
This year, it's a Centennial garden.
I think that it really instills a lot of self-confidence in our kiddos. If they can see that they can grow their own food and grow their own flowers, they can feel really resilient, just like our plants feel. They can feel hopeful that even when it's so cold in the winter, that in the spring they know that something that they planted last fall is going to grow again. So our ultimate hope is all about hope with the garden, that they really learn to see that whole cycle, get really excited by it, and know that, you know, there's something good out there for them, that they can grow and just like them.
The most common question I get asked by people just around our community is, do you eat real food? And the answer to that question is, yes, we eat real food. It is not a prison cell. It's basically like a 5-star hotel out there.
The Hutton Settlement operates on a $2 million annual budget, sustained mostly by a commercial real estate portfolio of about 20 Spokane area properties. Grants and donations help too. My successor, Chud Wendell, is only the 5th executive director in 100 years. Chud remembers playing out here when he is a youngster, when his mom attends board meetings. Today, he manages a payroll of 24 and a volunteer base of 200.
We currently have 32 children on campus. It started with 80 back in the day, 20 in each cottage. Right now we're about 8 to 10. But we have over 1,000 alumni in the 100 years. We are so blessed and fortunate to be on 320 acres, beautiful land, 21 board ladies. My favorite number is 0, and that it comes actually down to $0 that we take from the government. We are totally independent.
Al Hutton makes several key decisions at the beginning to govern his settlement for the long term. He specifies that the home not be affiliated with any political organization or church, that siblings be admitted together, that the children be educated in public schools, and be required to do reasonable chores. At the first century mark, all of that remains in place, governed by a board of 21 women.
I had lost my dad at 9 years old, and losing my dad at 9, I learned a lot. My brother was 6, and it kind of turned our world upside down. So I realized how important that stability and the family and the whole concept of Hutton just grabbed my heart.
Regardless of the time or place or size of a family, every board member and staff member here will tell you it all comes down to
relationships, mom and dad working together, and I think we have to listen to the children. And I love that about Hutton. There are so many house parents and people that help. Everyone's listening to the kids.
I just marvel at the time and the efforts and just that patience to be able to hold that little kid's hand and be able to get them through their days and watch them grow then once they're starting to get on a road of some normalcy, to watch them grow and prosper.
Hutton students attend West Valley Public Schools like many of their friends in the area. They walk to the school bus in the mornings, attend classes during the day, eat lunch, and talk with their friends, enjoy sports and activities in the afternoon, then come home at the end of the day to adults who love them.
Whenever you see the kids walking down, and they're all yelling and cheering and holding hands or walking down, just scattered the lane, that's a gorgeous sight to see. There's not anywhere on campus that you can't go. You can walk into the cottage and it's alive, you know. I love it when we go into the during dinner time and they're all chattering and setting the table and cooking and asking if, you know, we have napkins, and it's a fun place to be. And you can think and you become alive. You know, it's a great place to be.
Mr. Hutton dies at 12:20 on the afternoon of Saturday, November 3rd, 1928, of complications from diabetes. Artwork of the settlement clock tower stops the hands at that hour to remember the end of the founders' era. Mr. Hutton wills his mining shares and commercial properties to the settlement to sustain it in perpetuity. Word of his death appears on the front page of the Sunday Spokesman Review. A washerwoman who knows the Huttons back in their Idaho days offers a quote for the ages. She calls Mr. Hutton an angel in pants.
You say angel in pants, and it gives me goosebumps, because everything that we do now to care for the kids, it's an inspiration that is, it's just awe-strucking from the standpoint of here's somebody that develops all this wealth, could have done anything for it, but he wants to provide a better life for children that didn't have that opportunity, much like him. And it's the perfect description, and for me it's an inspiration to try to continue to strive for.
Interest in history can often be a challenge for younger generations. They see it as someone else's story, pictured in black and white. The Hutton Settlement sets out to celebrate its centennial with today's children in full color. Summer Sampson is an 8th grader at the settlement. The Hutton story is hers now, and she is a part of it. Summer concludes our story from the place she calls home.
The Hutton Settlement cornerstone is sealed on June 28, 1919. These black and white photographs show us the ceremony as it happens. 100 years later, free and accepted Masons of Washington performed their cornerstone ritual on campus again.
I pour this wine as a symbol of joy and gladness.
It's fun to know the Hutton Settlement history because it helps us understand how we can get to this place in our story, not just on campus, but up in the Coeur d'Alene Mountains, in the place that Mr. and Mrs. Hutton call home. The Hutton's house in Wallace, Idaho still stands. The Hutton family visits every year. Here, many notable people of the day come to call, including President Theodore Roosevelt in 1903.
Okay, hold on, there we go, right there. Nice.
Not far away is the now abandoned Hercules Mine near Burke, Idaho. This is where the Huttons work their spare hours for a future that is our present. One piece of Mr. Hutton's life as a railroad engineer survives on campus today. The only sentimental piece he ever keeps, the bell from the locomotive he drives in Wallace, Idaho.
I'm wearing this conductor hat because Levi Hutton was a conductor once, and I thought maybe I could wear this hat since he was a conductor. And that bell, we have a bell over at Hutton Settlement that we ring every year, and that was Levi Hutton's train bell that he had on his train.
Every year since Mr. Hutton's passing, his settlement family visits the gravesite at Fairmont Memorial Park, where Mr. and Mrs. Hutton are buried. We leave roses of remembrance on a stone left unfinished, in the Masonic tradition of unfinished work.
I don't think better people to be a model of facing hardship and making decisions in their lives than May and Levi Hutton. Today we celebrate an unbelievable legacy that they left, that we're continuing to live on.
To make history for the next century, Hutton Board ladies commissioned a sculpture to honor our namesake at the Centennial of his settlement. Spokane artist Vincent D. Felice uses old world methods and modern tools to create a piece that will likely be here beyond 2119.
Just with pinches of clay, I'm adding and subtracting and working on parts and pieces of him. Maybe one is a little too stern, and so, then I'm working in a bit of a smirk or a smile. And this all makes it look so simple, but it's really not. It's a culmination of scores and scores of hours just to even get it to this point.
A scenic half-day drive south of Spokane, you'll find the community of Joseph, Oregon, population 1,000, named for Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce people. When the timber industry collapses in the 1980s, Joseph reinvents itself as a foundry town. There are 3 here today. The Hutton sculpture is cast at Valley Bronze. Here, the Hutton sculpture is cast in manageable parts, then assembled to make a whole. While most visitors will notice the human figures, you'll also want to notice the bench.
This particular bench, no other like it in the world exists. I spent a great deal of time and design taking all sorts of elements from beautiful benches, combining them together, mainly with keeping in mind the lines and the textures and the feeling that Mr. Hutton invoked into his architecture and the campus, down to the ends of the bench, which are almost like musical instruments, like the end of a violin. There's a woven waffle pattern on the sides with a monogram seal. And just the scale of it and everything, it just really helps set the tone for some of the other invisible things that I can't say within the figures, but that can help set the tone for the broader piece.
She'll be a little more.
Mr. Hutton is back on campus to celebrate the centennial of his settlement. We honor him and the many others who help us reach 100 years. The Hutton Settlement buildings are on the National Register of Historic Places. In the administration building rests a book with nearly 2,000 names. Mine is added here in 2018. Now you know the story of the Hutton Settlement, the place I call home.
In his lifetime, Al Hutton does more than create the Hutton Settlement. He inspires his fellow Freemasons to live lives of generosity, too. At the National Shrine Convention in 1920, the National Imperial Potentate says, "If one man could build and do for children what Mr. Hutton has done, what could 500,000 Shriners do?" Inspired by Al Hutton's example, Shriners today stand behind 22 nonprofit medical facilities across North America, including one here in Spokane. And that's it for this special edition of Northwest Profiles, and we wish the Hutton Settlement continued success. The success of this program is made possible by you and your story ideas. So if you have one in mind or you're looking to discover more episodes of the show, simply go online to ksps.org. Until next time, this is Lynn Veltri saying so long, and remember, what makes the Inland Northwest and Western Canada a great place to call home is the fact that it features much to explore and enjoy. So venture out, and when you do, be sure you take time to enjoy the view.
Thank you.